Hi once again, as promised, more bulbs and more and more, and so we go on. Someone was inquiring how old I was. I suppose I'm ancient. To some people's eyes, yes, I must seem ancient. I was born in 1944. It'd probably work out, I'm probably in my 70s, so you know, it's a few years. But I started collecting. My main hobbies were the plants, cacti, succulents. I had some fish. A neighbour gave me a tank of fish, and lamps I've always collected. I know at school it was thought of as being very strange. Then it wasn't an accepted hobby. I was expected to kick a to kick a football about, which I'm not the slightest bit interested in. In fact, sport does not interest me at all. And as regards going to a gym, well, have you ever seen a cat or a dog going to a gym? I'm sure you can keep fit by eating fairly well. Anyhow, as I say, these hobbies lasted through, and a little bit after that, I suppose I was in my teens, telephones came along, mainly because I worked at a telephone exchange. I was lucky enough to get out in 1992, it was called Release 92, from BT as it was called then, British Telecom. So that gives you an idea of the age, and of course this is how I built up quite a large collection. And of course going to boot sales and looking at junk shops and buying a collection which added to the collection greatly from the gentleman up north. And I've discovered up there also a cabinet, a small metal cabinet which I opened up, and there's more lamps in there, valves, some funny looking valves. So you know, I'm gonna put these up, and once again, hopefully they may be recognised. I think they will. Anyhow, we'll start with a few, but as you can see, I've laid them out in such a way as to make it easier to look at and talk about. We start off with some tubulars. Not all the same voltage. Now I'm hoping I'll be able to show the filaments. Let me turn that over. That's a white plate, so I'm hoping it'll show the filaments up. I've got a light as well. Bring the light up. I've got a high intensity lamp. Now let's see if we can see that. I'm hoping it shows up. Can't always be sure that they have. There, I think that's shown up. It's a carbon filament. It's like two filaments or two loops of carbon, but they are connected in series. So for all intents and purposes, it's a one filament but made up of two separate filaments wired in series. This was made, I believe, by Robinson's. Yeah, and just see the name on there. Robertson, England. And 39, that's probably a code letter. It might even be the year, but I don't know. Anyhow, these were a mains bulb working on 240 volts. The next two I'm going to show I acquired, and they're 50 volts. I'm sorry about the state of the covering. These were in a lovely red lacquer paint, but as you can see inside, they are carbon. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I first saw these, which was in my local telephone exchange. A lot of the lamps then had been changed over to a tungsten filament lamps, little round ones, but there were still some of these ones. And in a fairly old exchange as I was in, these had obviously gone in from the start. I don't know if there's any name on these. It says 50 volts. That's in perfect working. Carbon filament loop, possibly made by Robertson. Now look at the other one, which is the same type of lamp. I'm sorry if it's not very clear, but it has got the same type of filament, carbon. And there's a name on that one. Royal Ediswan, made in England. The code number on there is 51. This bulb type, there's a number on there. Number 8. Well, number 8 was what the post office or GPO used on their lamps. And then a number which depicted what type of lamp it was. And this looks like number 7. So it's number 8, number 7. Small bayonet cap. And once they're going to work, that'll give you an idea of the size of these lamps. I have somewhere upstairs a normal carbon lamp. When I say a normal carbon lamp, one which is a standard bulb size or type, and that came out of the exchange as well. Right, let's have a look at the bulb here. We've got a Mazda. Now I've mentioned Mazda. The Mazda name in England, France, is the actual manufacturer. The English one was made by British Thomson Houston, and presumably the French one would have been made by Thomson. It's all really under the American GE. If you look at the trademark, it is very, very similar to the GE mark. This uses 3 little loops inside, and I think the GE one has 4. But anyway, I'll give you an idea. I'll hold it on there, so if you want to take any information off, you can. You can always stop the video and look at any numbers or anything. And it's obviously a projector lamp, not the one which is shown on the box, but it's the correct box for the lamp. Put it back and have a little look. There's the lamp, and there's the filament. Now you can count up the filaments. There's quite a few there. Now that is not the normal way the filament arrangement would be made. These are all parallel filaments, all intact, because this lamp has never been used. There's the filaments. It's a brand new lamp in as much as it's never been used. And instructions on the GES base: burn cap down. This obviously means it goes that way round, so the heat goes to the top. There's also a warning on the box, say not to shake it, or when it's a light in the projector, not to move the projector, because you could damage the filaments. Remember, they are pretty close. Now the voltage of all this, you're going to be amazed. There's the old BTH patent Mazda. The voltage, there we are, very strange voltage, 11 volts, 200 watts. So that gives an idea of how much each one of the filaments give. 3, 6, I think it's 9. I think that's 9 filaments there. If someone's got a good set of eyes, they can probably determine how many filaments there are. But anyhow, very unusual lamp. And as I say, any comments please make. The old cap there, look at that, with a porcelain insulation piece. That ages it. Anyhow, let's go on to the next one. I don't want to send you all off to sleep. We've got an Abaco lamp. They're American. This is quite an old one. I don't know where it was made. I'm having a look on the box. I can't see anything, but it's Abaco. It's quite old. Oh, here we are. That gives you an idea. Japan. This is quite an old lamp, so it was probably made before China was such a strong force in lamp making. Let me show you the bulb. As I say, it says decorative light bulb. It's like a candle. I have never seen anything like this before. There's the lamp. I presume, and I'm not going to pull it apart, there's a tiny little bulb inside there, and it's to look like a burning candle. As far as I know, it works. It'll be on 110 volts. It's the candelabra thread or size. There's the bulb. It's very unusual. I've never seen one of these before. And there, you can see the length of it. There's my hand. Interesting. Now let's put that one back. I'm going to box these up later. Also, perhaps not as interesting, but you know, I think they are. This would obviously have been a candelabrum lamp. It is not English. In fact, there's not a word of English on it. I don't know whether it's Japanese or from Taiwan, China, I just don't know. The only thing in English is the telephone number. So wherever 0331 is, will give you an indication the country. So it could be found out where it was made. Voltage and wattage. Presumably it's in that language at the top, the voltage and wattage. Let's look at the bulb. Just a normal coil filament, and it's got this black stuff. Now a lot of Japanese lamps had this black stuff in it, and I think it was provided to remove any traces of oxygen that was left in the lamp after evacuation. Once again, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. Some of the lamps used to show a red oxide on the stem, but they use a black here, and sometimes the black is painted across the actual pinch. But there's the lamp. It's a normal filament. See what's on the base. Oh, it's 220 volts. 60 watt, 220 volt, 60 watt. So it was obviously made for the, presumably the European market, not the Americas, because it's the wrong voltage. Anyhow, that's the lamp. It's a candelabra screw again, which is not really encountered here. The Japanese use it a lot, and obviously the Americans do. And while we're talking about candelabra threads, we got another one. This was a low voltage lamp, Abaco. It's another Abaco lamp. This is more of a modern one. And possibly, yes. Let's look at what it says on there. Anglo Brothers Limited or Company. And this lamp was made in China. This was made somewhat after that other early lamp. And this is very unusual because it's low voltage. I'm trying to see what voltage it is. I don't know if it's written anywhere. Yep, it's got 40 watt. There we are. Low voltage flame tip. 40 watts, 12 volts. Candelabra base. That's the size of it. You more or less can tell by the filament it's for low voltage running. 12 volts. I bet that gets hot. In fact, very hot. Pop that one back. We've got next, we've got an American lamp. This is the smaller version of these. They do make a bigger one. Pre-tested light bulb, Sylvania lights the way. This was obviously made before Osram took over Sylvania in the States. There's where it is, or where it is. GTE, General Telephone and Electrics Products Corporation. It was under GTE then. Made in USA. T61 I think refers to the lamp shape. Tubular 61. I may be wrong on that one. Let's look at the bulb itself. I think these were well made. There's the construction. As you can see, the filament is a straight wire going the whole length of the tube. It's a nice way it's all connected up, and the wire that returns the current also acts as a source of putting the support wires, and of course they are insulated. They had to be. If they weren't insulated, the bulb would be shorted out. But this is the smaller version of the two. There's nothing on the end of the lamp. In fact, there's nothing on it at all. I don't think there might be something on the base. No, there's nothing on the base. This is not a candelabra thread. This is a small Edison screw. Fairly old. Never ever been used. I'll pop it back. Nell Co bright. This is a name you've probably come across. Nell Co, North American lamp company. They mainly specialised in carbon filament lamps, but they did, however, still make tungsten filament lamps. They were, as it says, St. Louis 6, Missouri. There's the name. Made by, and that was made there in America. Nell Co. Anything else on there? It's 40 watt, 120 volt, made in USA, before the Chinese stuff arrived. And the lamp itself, it's got, which I would call a rough service type filament. It's got an etch on there, not very clear, but there is an etch, which would have said Nell Co. There's the filament, normal tungsten filament. Looks quite delicately made. And with candelabra base. Size again by my hand. Quite a nice little bulb, an American made. Up next we've got another candelabrum bulb, and also made by Nell Co. You don't often see these lamps now. Made in USA again. And look at the filament, which it appears to be. Oh, let's have a look. And there's the little beauty. Look at that filament. Carbon. Beautifully made carbon filament lamp. Couple of loops. It's never been used. You could say brand spanking new, except it's quite an old lamp. There's the pinch that holds the two wires in, and the carbon filaments are joined by carbon paste, I believe that is. Those two little blubbly bits would be carbon paste, and that's how you connect the carbon wire. Remember, our first lamps were in fact carbon filaments. The lamps made by Swan and the lamps made by Edison. Swan in England, who produced the lamp a little bit before Edison, but they both used carbon, either carbonised bamboo or carbonised silk, I believe. Alright, Nell Co. Pop that back. And yet another Nell Co. Another Nell Co. North American lamp company. There's an American one. There's the lamp itself. Candle flame again. Let's have a look at it. Another cracker, as they say. See if I can show you the filament. I'm hoping the filament comes up. It's carbon. Another carbon lamp with a bent tip. And that would be a candelabra lamp with the candelabra cap or base. It's a candelabra. So obviously where it got its name from being put into these fancy light fittings or candelabra. Don't know if I can show that up. I'm trying hard to be able to show the filament. I think it's probably showing okay. Yeah, that's the last of the Nell Co's. Come on to the second row. This lamp we're looking at now was probably a foreign lamp. There's no name on it. 12 to 16 volt, 834. It's possibly a number of the lamp, don't know, but it's 834. The bulb we have here, with unusual way of showing the filament. They're not normally done like that. They're normally done like a normal torch bulb, if you like, where both leading wires are the same length and the filament is just wide across it as like a little bridge, or wreath I think is the correct term they use. The name I always forget. Wreath, that refers to the type of filament arrangement. Thanks once again to James, who a lot of you know James, particularly on the, oh here we are, on the lighting forums. Yes, I think it says foreign. There's definitely something written there. I think it says foreign. Small bayonet cap, centre contact, so often depicted as SCC, small centre contact, and this will have been used in motor vehicles, 12 volt cars, as side lights in the old cars. I don't think cars use these now. I remember as a kid going into Woolworths, and on their counter they had sunshine lamps, they were called sunshine, and they often did a range of automobile bulbs, and you could always buy that size lamp, but it wasn't like that. It was the same shape but different filament. Now in here we've got, and I don't know if this is a worker because there's damage to the glass, but I think that was done when the bulb was made. Another carbon. Now what's on here? It's just 120 volts. Someone's written 120 volts on it. This may have come from the collection that I bought in. I can't honestly remember. There's no names on it, and there's nothing on the candelabra base. But it's a nice little carbon. Nice little carbon lamp. Tubular. Yeah, we're getting through these. I'm sorry I'm not lighting these up. It's quite a fiddle in a lot of cases. I know Alex has got a very nice setup for testing lamps, voltages and currents and that. I haven't got anything quite as sophisticated. I've just got a Variac. So we'll have to suffice by just showing the lamps as they are. But I know I've seen on YouTube Alex setup, and it's very, very good. It really is. Now we talk about coal effect fires, Berry's fires, Belling. They all made these fires. Well, the lamps were used inside to give the effect. You had like a little spinning device on top which would make the light flicker, so it would look like flames. I don't know if I can get it closer to show you the filament. Now this is the type of lamp that a fire glow should be. Rough surface filament. Move this over. I think that shows up. Rough surface filament. The positioning of that filament would suggest to me it was the lamp, if it hadn't have been coated with red, would have been used in a traffic light, because it's quite low down, the actual filaments. Normally they're higher up. I don't know, it would have been a different wattage as well. Now the top of it, it's got an etch. I don't know if it shows up.